Parshas Kedoshim. This week's Parsha begins, Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe lemor. Hashem spoke to Moses saying, this is Perek Yutes. We're going to look at Pasuk Beis now, which is verse 2. Daber el kol adas b'nei Yisrael. Speak to the entire congregation of Israel. V'amarta alehem, and say to them, Kedoshim to you. Be Kedoshim. Now, Kedoshim usually is plural. Kodesh usually means holy, but we're going to examine what the nature of this holy is. So let's bookmark that. Kedoshim to you. Now comes the mind blower. Ki kadosh ani Hashem Elokechem. Because I am holy. I, the Lord your God, am holy. So there are a number of questions. First of all, what does it mean for a human being to be holy? And what does it mean for a human being to be holy like God? And that seems to be what God is saying. You be holy, so because I am holy. Okay, let's look at the commentaries and see how they explain this notion of holiness. Rashi says, Kedoshim to you, hevu perushim min ha'arayos u'min ha'avera. Be separated from sexual immorality and from sin. Most commentaries say that sin refers to issues that revolve around sexuality. In other words, what we call harchokos, or making gedarim, putting up fences, figuratively speaking, to that even for something which is technically permissible, but to stay away as far as possible from illicit sexual relations. That's Rashi. The Ramban says, based on a medrash of Chazal, that it means heavy perushim, be perushim separate generally, and he reads that to mean that a person could theoretically be in technical compliance with the requirements of the law and still be a naval b'rshus haTorah. He could be a degenerate. He could eat only the highest level of strictly kosher food, but he can be a glutton. And he can be very loyal to his wife, but he can be so steeped in matters sexual that he crosses the boundary. So we have on the one hand Rashi, who says just it means stay away from illicit sexual relations. And we have the Ramban, who says stay away from excess generally. Kadesh atzmacha b'muter lach. Sanctify yourself with that which is permissible. In other words, don't go full throttle on anything. The question arises, what does this have to do with the sanctity, if you will, of the Almighty? Ki kadosh ani. Because I am holy, says God. What does that have to do with anything? So we have a couple of approaches. We actually discussed this once before, and we suggested that kadosh is a characteristic of dedication. Somebody can dedicate an animal for the service in the temple, in the Beis HaMikdash. It's called makdish behemto. He dedicates his animal to that. It can be a behemoth, can be an animal, can be other things. Or the institution of marriage is called kiddushin. And Tosfos explains that mikudeshes, a woman who's mikudeshes, is miyuchedes umizumenes. She is singled out, she is designated for that man. So we see that kadosh has this notion of dedication. Kadosh Baruch Hu is saying, Ki kadosh ani, I am dedicated. To what is God dedicated? He's dedicated to us. Hinei lo yonum v'lo yishan shomer Yisrael. The guardian of Israel neither sleeps nor slumbers. Hashem tzilcha al yad yaminecha. The Almighty is your shadow to your right hand. In other words, God is always there for us. We don't necessarily understand God's ways, but we do understand that he's dedicated to us and he's always there for us. He's dedicated to the land of Israel also, which the Torah says that the Almighty has his eye on the land of Israel, the Eretz HaKodesh, from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, the land which is dedicated to the people of Israel. It's Eretz Israel and the Torah of Israel and the service of God. So what we see is that God is dedicated to us. What God asks from us is that we be dedicated to him. And this is explicit in the first verse of the Shema, dedicated to God with your mind, with your desire, with your wherewithal, with that which you have been blessed. So what God is saying is, just as I am dedicated to you, you be dedicated to me, and do it free of distractions. What are the big distractions for human beings? Sexuality and indulgences or luxury. Somebody who is drawn to sexuality gets into it deeper and deeper, and he certainly gets distracted from what he has to do. We see many important men in society at large who end up having affairs and lead lives that are, when they're found out, are scandalous. We also know that there are people who will abandon other important things in order to satisfy their ambition to acquire wealth, good food, fast cars, pretty women, just all manner of luxury, big houses. And that is a risk, a big risk of distraction. So one reading of this is that we should be distraction free, or as we should avoid the big distractions, so that we can focus on being dedicated to God as He is dedicated. Ki kadosh ani Hashem Elokechem, I, the Lord your God, am dedicated to you. The Sofer says, yes, be holy, but don't be so porush, don't be so separated from the world that you're not mindful of what's going on in the world. You're not integrated into the world. And he says, Ki kadosh ani, like I, God, is speaking, and God, who is far removed from anything that we can experience. Nevertheless, the verse in Isaiah, in Yeshaya, says, Kadosh, 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 Hashem Tzarkos. God is Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. He's mufrash, umuvdal. He's removed, he's removed, he's removed. He's so sanctified. But on the other hand, the verse ends with Melo chol haaretz kavodo. The world is filled with His glory. In other words, God is simultaneously Kadosh. He is holy, removed from our experience, and yet engaged. And that's what we have to be, says the Sofer. We have to be engaged. As a matter of fact, Rav Yonason Eibshitz once was quoted as having observed a Jew who was leading an extremely ascetic and a life of solitude, removed from society for the purpose of preserving his own personal kedusha. And Rav Yonason Eibshitz was critical, and he said, it's true that the Torah exhorts us to be holy, but that very command was said b'hakel. It was said El kol adas b'nei Yisrael. It was said to everybody. In other words, you have to be integrated into society, and that is the point that reinforces the Sofer's point. Reb Shomshon Hirsch says that the curious phrasing of Ki kadosh ani Hashem Elokechem, you be holy like I am holy. What he's saying is that the Almighty is telling us you have the ability to do it. I know you have the ability to do it because I created you, says God, and I am holy. And I have infused in you the capability of being holy. So don't think you're not capable. I created you, I made you what you are, and I made you capable of achieving holiness. And the final observation, normally when you have multiple opinions, some are you might consider to be weaker than others or a bit of a stretch. I think all of these are quite solid and can inform us in different aspects of our life. Finally, I'd like to quote the Shelah Hakadosh. He says something very interesting. He says, every person has his own Torah. What does he mean by that? Well, he said, if everyone were identical, then the Torah could not only prescribe laws generally, but could actually tell everybody exactly how much to eat, exactly which foods to eat, exactly how much exercise to take. This is the prescription. This is how you should act. But guess what? We are not identical. We are all different. We have a baseline, which is observance of the Torah. That is beyond question. But then the next question is, okay, how does it customize for you or for me? How do we find that which is our sweet spot in all of these things? And he says very straightforward. He said a person must be sensitive to where he's going off track. What's off track? When he's losing sight of God, when he's no longer on the road of Kedusha. If he's doing something that he feels, this does not feel consistent with Kedusha, then don't do it. Then for you, and it may be absolutely permitted and permissible and even recommended for someone else, but not for you. Or it may be recommended for you, but not for someone else. Why? Because we're each individual. And this brings to mind the observation of the Chovos Halvavos, written by Rabbi ibn Pekuda, who says that one of the medieval scholars, who says that for society, for Jewish society generally, there is that which is permissible, that which is prohibited, and that which is optional. In other words, or rather, let's put it this way, that which is mandatory, that which is prohibited, and that which is permissible. I misspoke originally. So in other words, we typically think of chiyuv, obligatory, iser, something that is just also is prohibited, and then rishos, which is permissible. You want to go for a walk, go for a walk. You don't want to go for a walk, don't go for a walk. There's no prohibition against going for a walk. But he says that everybody has to understand, I'm paraphrasing here, what is the best thing for me to do right now? Or what's the best thing for me to do at any point in time? And whatever that is, that becomes mandatory. Obviously, we're talking about consistent with the principles of the Torah. On the basis of the principles of the Torah, what should I be doing now? Should I be relaxing or should I be studying Torah? Well, if I've studied Torah for many hours or even for a few hours and I'm really wound up and I need a few minutes or a few hours to relax or a few weeks to relax in order to get back into the swing of things, then go ahead and do it. But if relaxing is not the best thing for you to do at that point, you could be more productive by doing something else, then you're not allowed to relax. Then you have to be more productive. This is a big challenge. And it sounds very similar to the calculus of the Shelah, which is we have to write our own Torah. You write for yourself the Torah. The baseline is the Torah as we've received it, Shulchan Aruch, the laws, the hashkafos, the outlooks, etc. But then we have to take all of that, plug it into our own individual ecosystem, and then decide what's right for us. And if it's right for us, we must do it. Have a good chance.